how to extend the life of your outboard motor in boating in a nutshell. And follow us. I'll tell you 5 particular or main things that pay close attention to make your outboard motor last as long as possible while running at peak efficiency. Let's get started right away. Let's go. Washing the engine itself after use in the sea. If you use it in the lake, it doesn't matter at all. Let's say that this first step isn't necessary for you, but if you use it in the sea, like most motors are used, then washing is essential. You should wash it once you're back in port or when it's on dry land. Then on the cart or storage, washing needs to be done to allow fresh water to circulate within the engine's cooling system. The same way, so that the salt settles, because unfortunately, due to the high temperatures in the exhaust and the cooling area of the engine, if you take, I don't know, a pan of water, a small pot of salt water, and you heat it up, let the water evaporate, and you'll be left with the salt. That's what happens inside the outboard motor. Why? Because the temperatures in the exhaust pipes and in the cooling pipes where the water circulates to cool the engine pass salty water. If then, after I leave it there for a day, 2, 3, 1,000 days, whatever it is, it will happen. That, each time the amount of salt inside these passages will increase to the point where they get clogged and shut off. This also happens in fresh water with limescale. If you use it in a really stressful way, like fishermen do, you're putting a lot of continuous strain on the motor. The same goes for limescale. It can cause similar problems to salt. The difference is the time it takes. Limescale takes years to build up, while salt could take just a few months. To wash it, you could use 2 different systems. Or if the engine has a direct connection to the water hose, hot, like garden water. So the engine already has a direct connection for the cooling circuit. Now the cooling should be done with the engine off in this case. Or if that's not an option, there are caps that you can place on the foot of the engine right where the water intake grills are. And this operation, you would typically do it when it's dry, when you're on dry land. In this case, to clean it from any salt that might be left inside, you'll need to start the engine, because otherwise the water pump won't send the water you put into the hose connected to your caps into the circuits. So in this case, start the engine, keep it running, and let the fresh water circulate for a long time. Going out helps you take better care of the engine. Many forget that the outboard is an engine. I know I'm telling you something that makes you go, wow, what is he saying? It's an engine. But then why do many people not want to get the service done? I mean, at least oil and filters. It's an engine. I haven't used it much. I'm really glad. But know that if you, from the morning or evening, or if you stay at home for 2 days, it's not like you skip showering just because you haven't gone out. You'll still take a shower and you need to wash and clean yourself. If you want to look presentable, if you want your teeth to last over the years, you have to brush them every day. Even if maybe today I ate very little, what does that have to do with it? Oil and filters are essential, and getting a service done is also crucial for me. How can you prevent corrosion from salt water? I can do this by checking, verifying, and replacing the zincs. The zinc anodes, because they are sacrificial zincs, sacrificial anodes. They are pieces of metal attached to the engine that, boom, attract galvanic currents, which are even stronger in brackish water. And they make sure to sacrifice themselves instead of letting the aluminum of the engine or the material the engine is made of get sacrificed. Metal material, of course. The other issue is that, more than an issue, the other solution you might have, it's in case you have to leave the inflatable boat in the water, whether it's the engine in the water, an inflatable boat, or a regular boat. You can't take it out of the water, but it has to stay submerged. There are products on the market that are basically like buckets, soft ones, a small bucket, maybe the most famous one, where I let it in. The engine's foot when it's dry. When I'm in this position straight out from the boat, I put them on the bag and then lower the engine. If in my harbor I'm forced to keep it submerged in water, at least the engine, it's in the submerged position, but there's its bucket that keeps it dry inside. This helps especially to prevent galvanic currents and salt water from continuing to work on the engine, and therefore also the lime scale buildup on it. Pay a little attention to the fuel you give to your engines. It happened to me, not often thankfully, but it did happen that I had a client who had several issues with the engine that couldn't stay stable at idle. Then we found out that the gasoline smelled. He would go to get it. He would bring the cans like this. Sometimes I don't say it out of embarrassment, but anyway, he told me that this problem might have been caused by the fact that he was going to a junkyard. He was buying the gasoline because it was cheaper. Okay, it costs you less, but now the maintenance of the engine costs you more, so think it through carefully. What do you feed your engine to make sure it never has any problems? And on land, but also at sea. The problem with winter is that it normally stays still because not everyone keeps it completely still. It stays idle for weeks or months. This engine suffers because it's completely still, metal against metal. Imagine the piston inside a combustion chamber within a cylinder, and it's all metal, 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 metal. There are also the gaskets. For heaven's sake, that's a lot. Metal. What happens if the combustion chamber completely dries out? If it completely dries out and unfortunately very humid air gets in, it could cause small corrosion, rust spots inside, even in the combustion chamber. This can cause the complete breakdown of the engine. So it's very important for the winter to do winterizing. It's nothing more than maintenance, a protection. Additionally, there are specific products to lubricate all the internal parts of the engine. Generally, marine technicians know how to do this, and this by operation helps you maintain the engine in the best way over the years because it's true that it stays idle, but it stays idle in the best possible way. Make sure, if you don't want to miss any of our videos, all you have to do is subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but we provide a really important help to keep making this content. I can't help but tell you that if you need more information or have any doubts, all you have to do is write your question right below this video. And within a few hours, 24 at most, we usually manage to respond to practically everyone. From a beautiful spring day at Lake Gahada, all I have left to say is fair winds and always keep an eye on the weather.